It's a bunch of crazy stories written by the Brothers Grimm. And now you're gonna learn all about them, listening to the Brothers Grimm.
Students and scholars, friends and relations, welcome to the Brothers Dim podcast, where we discuss the stories of the Brothers Grimm written down in the early 1800s in Germany. My name is Phil.
And my name is Mike.
Mike, how are you doing?
Not too bad. Nothing new. What about yourself?
I'm good. I like this story. I'm excited. We're going to be reading story number 33, The Three Languages. And when I read this story, I had a vibe. I don't know if you got the same vibe.
I got multiple vibes of multiple stories we've read before.
Yeah, I had an impression. There was an aura, if you will, yes, of something that we have read before.
But it also didn't seem that repetitive.
There was a turn, which I wasn't expecting, like halfway through this.
Yes.
So it's which, God bless the Brothers Grimm. This was 2 pages. So one part of the story on one side of a page, and then you flip the page and there's the rest of the story. And so the first half of the story, I'm sitting there going like, oh boy, it's a retelling of the boy who went forth to learn what fear was. And then you turn the page, literally, that's where it takes the turn to something I wasn't expecting, which we will get into later. But it was fun.
He was already there. He already wasn't afraid and was set to go.
That was not the reason why people were mad.
Right. Yeah. Well, I feel like only one person is mad in this.
Oh, yeah.
And he's a dick, so.
It's shockingly, it may be shocking to all of our listeners' ears. The person who's a dick is this kid's parent.
Not a woodcutter, though.
Not a woodcutter, no.
Well, woodcutters tend to be generally nice, but so poor they have to sell children.
That's the thing.
Or abandon them in the woods.
So there's been some parents that were like, listen, we're all going to die if we don't do something with this kid. So let's just sell the kid to Jesus's mom. It'll be better for the kid. That I get. Trying to do what's best for your child.
Everybody wins.
Abandonment in the woods for them to die, that's a slightly different story. But
yeah,
not what happens here. So without further ado, if you don't mind, I would love to go through story number 33, The Three Languages.
Hit it.
Once upon a time, an aged count once lived in Switzerland who had an only son, but he was stupid and could learn nothing. And there's the first line that made me laugh.
Yes.
There was another line later, but that was the first one that made me chuckle. A count once lived in Switzerland. He had one stupid son. Count is tired of this kid's bullshit and finally says, okay, look, I've tried to teach you some stuff and you learn nothing. So I'm going to send you to another town, to a master, and see if that works. Come back in a year. So the son goes off, comes back a year later, and the father says, well, it's been a year. What have you learned? Well, father, I learned how to talk to dogs. That was the second line. The second time I laughed. Count is flabbergasted. He's mad. He says, that's not anything. I'm going to try again. And 2 more times, in fact, he sends the boy out for a year. Both times he comes back. First time saying he's learned how to talk to birds. Second time he's learned how to speak to frogs. So
different masters the whole time.
Different masters. He said, different. One town he goes and he learns nothing but bird to speak, bird law. And the next time just how frogs talk. So that's the last straw. He gets his servants and he says, all right, take this boy out to the woods and kill him. But the servants, they take the boy out to the woods, but they feel bad because this kid was never anything but nice to them. So they let him go. Tell him 23 skidoo. And then they kill a deer and take out the eyes and tongue just in case the king asks for proof. and 2 things about that.
Just in case.
Just in case. One, that just happened in The Girl Without Hands. They're like, and I'm going to need proof. And so they kill a deer and take the eyes out. 2, deer eyes look nothing like human eyes. No. There, I've said it.
I also think they're much larger.
They're, I mean, I don't know if someone handed me just an eye, a human, like a human or otherwise, I don't know if I'd be able to say, okay, well, that's I guess, I mean, maybe they shrivel up or something. I've also never seen an eye on its own.
It feels like we need to do some research.
But, well, anyways, they, just in case the king needs proof, they kill a deer and cut out its eyes and tongue. Boy goes out into the world, comes across a fortress, and he asks if he can sleep there. And the guards or whatever, they say, sure, but first you have to go over to that very spooky tower over yonder. It's very scary. And there are dogs inside who are very loud. They've upset the whole town. But the boy was, quote, without fear.
Oh,
Yeah. He goes on down to the tower and talks to the dogs because he knows how to talk to dogs. The dogs say, oh, we've been cursed to guard this treasure. The treasure isn't cursed, but we're cursed to watch it and howl. So the boy says, great. Takes the treasure, goes back to the fortress. The Lord adopts him as a son. The dogs quiet down. They all leave. He's got some treasure. Hooray. After a bit, and apropos of nothing, he decides to head to Rome. And he stops by a marsh and listens to the toads croak. And after listening to them, he gets sad. And that's the last of that, because we're on to Rome, where the Pope has just died. And
I was convinced we were never going to find anything out about the frogs.
Yeah. Did they tell him this? No. Did we ever hear from the frogs again? Kind of, but not really until the end, and not really at all. They don't say what made him sad. He just toddles on. So fine. Rome. Everyone's trying to figure out who the next pope will be. Apparently it's not the cardinals all gathering and voting as per usual. And it's unclear who they is. Maybe it's the cardinals. They decide it should be someone who does a miracle or who is miraculous. And lo and behold, this boy wanders in, and as soon as he does, 2 white doves land on his shoulders. Good enough for me, I'll say. So they say, oh, would you like to be Pope? Kid doesn't know if he should, but the doves talk him into it, thus fulfilling the prophecy from the frogs, which we've only just heard about. And which I guess that prophecy made him sad. Finally, he, as the new Pope, has to sing a mass, but he does not know the words. So the doves, like so much Ratatouille, they whisper it into his ears. The end.
I'm the Pope.
Oh, no. Oh, my God. And only 2 pages. They got a lot out of those 2 pages.
Yeah, this is a whack ass story. And then I was thinking about it after, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe that wasn't so bad. And then you retelling it just now, just like it brought up all the whack assiness all over again.
The next few weeks, it's going to be like a bunch of really short ones, short but dense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely thought this is just, I get to do a version of the boy who went forth to learn what fear was. And then they really slapped just a religious sticker on the end of that. And a little bit of the white snake.
Yep.
But what's weird, it's funny, the white snake, at least it made sense. He makes friends with all the animals for whatever reason. They all help him to do, I don't know, some like, actual tasks, hard tasks, as opposed to just, well, now we can talk to dogs. The dogs tell him, okay, there's a treasure. And that's the last we hear of them. The animals were much more important. The animals didn't seem that important in this one, barring
they got him made Pope.
Yeah, the Ratatouille style doves. And it doesn't even say when he goes away, he's like, I didn't learn how to talk to doves. I didn't make friends with 2 doves. I mean, I guess like that may have happened, but these weren't the doves from his year abroad. Yeah.
No, they just showed up.
They were just like, oh, you look like someone who
this wasn't even
knows.
Planned.
So they're like, I bet that little boy knows how to speak to birds. We'll just whisper it into his ears, whatever he needs to hear. Maybe and how the fuck do the doves know the mass?
Right. No, that's a good question. I didn't even think of that. I think they just wanted to be the power behind the throne.
I mean, oh, there you go.
Maybe they were birds from before, and they knew that he could speak bird, and this whole thing was a setup.
So that they could get the good seed.
Maybe not.
What do birds want? Real quick, this tale was collected by the Brothers Grimm from a man named Hans Truffer from Visp.
Was it Switzerland?
Switzerland.
Oh,
yeah, that makes sense.
I was gonna say, because this is like the first one that takes place outside of Germany, or at least that's named to take place outside of Germany.
Yeah, it was. I saw that and I thought that was really weird. It had a very big Beowulf vibe to me when I saw, okay, here's a count from Switzerland as opposed to here's a count from the fucking woods, right?
Right. Very
Some-
specifically Switzerland.
Very specifically
Never
Switzerland,
explained why.
which is fine. Which, well, Beowulf is just, I think once upon a time in Denmark, there was some dude and he was great. And here he comes.
Here's a poem.
And he sailed across the sea to, wherever Grendel was. But it's funny, it was from a later edition. And it had to have been because they went far to get that one, especially Brothers Grimm say they collected it from this guy. Maybe they heard it, but maybe he mailed it to them. I don't know. It's not, it's a far trip though. But I digress. I have a moral. Do you have a moral?
No, this one's a little fuzzy. What do you think?
Okay. I want you to go with me on this one.
Well, I'm ready to suspend disbelief.
The study of natural sciences is a noble goal.
Even if your asshole father kicks you out of the house for it?
Especially if your asshole father kicks you out of the house for it. Because that's kind of what he's studying, right? If we take the magic out of it, he's just studying biology, which leads us into the thing. Like Gregor Mendel. Do you know him?
I know the name.
Okay.
From 10th grade biology.
Exactly, yeah. So, and he was, by the way, born in 1822. 10 years after the first edition was published. But Gregor Mendel was the father of the science of genetics and an Augustinian friar, so part of the Catholic Church.
Oh, of course.
And if we have listeners where that name is ringing a faint bell, he was the guy that figured out how genes are passed down from one parent, for lack of a better word, to its offspring. So there were the yellow peas and the green peas, and the pea pods were slightly different on this plant. And if you mix two of them together, what do you get? You get kind of a mix of both, but dominant genes versus recessive genes. Yeah. That was Gregor Mendel.
I retained something.
And and he figured out, and it works on more than just peas. My son, for example, has red hair and blue eyes, a very rare condition.
Oh, really?
I don't know, from red hair and blue eyes, like as a combo. Red hair is only like 2% of the population or something like that.
Wait till he ends up being left-handed.
Additional to that, though, I guess the noble sciences is a natural sciences being a noble goal. Learning and education has meaning to the person that has learned it. In some cases, only to them. So knowledge can be power, but it might just be power for you. That was my vibe off. I might be reading way too much into it, but I liked that idea. I thought that may be what the Brothers Grimm were going for, and I don't know. We've read 30 some of these stories now. I still don't really know their politics. I suppose I could look it up. I don't even know if it makes sense.
Where's the fun in that?
Yeah, I don't even know if it makes sense to ask that question for them, right?
Right.
Where are you on a political spectrum? Some of those questions had been asked, certainly by that point, but maybe not where they were. What I have read from the Brothers Grimm so far is that they have a great love of nature.
And a poor understanding of the Bible.
Definitely a poor understanding of the Bible and how that works. But certainly like they respect nature a lot more than they respect people.
Yeah, I mean, typically animal characters tend to be much more...
Yeah, humans have an inherent evil to them. Animals do not.
Yeah,
like the mama deer goes to work and get food for her kids. The human mom, on the other hand,
right. Good luck.
Yeah, we're just gonna leave you here. Don't worry. Just stay here until nightfall. Nothing bad will happen to you.
You'll figure it out.
Arn Thompson, ATU type 671, the 3 languages. There was also ATU type 517, which is the boy who learned many things. And of course, as with all of these, there's a lot of different tropes thrown in that we are starting to, now that when even only being 30 in, we're seeing over and over and over again. But
could you say it's cross-pollination of dominant and recessive genes?
God damn it, that's good. I would say that if I had thought of it. And just as a special present to you, I will not edit it so that I came up with it.
Oh,
you're welcome. So yeah, the 3 languages. So it's like all of the stories kind of follow along the same path as the boy just learns how to talk to animals. Or, I mean, it could be just 3 languages. That's the other side of that. The other moral that I thought is like learning language is wildly important. and it will get you far in life.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I don't know if that's what they were going for exactly, because they
Yeah, it does make me, the more we talk about it, the more it makes me wonder if this is an earlier version of the trope of the kid who goes to art school and gets what the parents feel is not a valuable education and then comes home and they have to kick him out of the basement.
and and especially if they were rich,
Right.
and they wanted him to be a lawyer,
Yeah, of course, which is what rich parents want.
or doctor, what have you. But
I have a few questions.
Okay, ask questions.
So along the concept of these natural sciences,
Okay.
so the father, the count, is sending the kid to these masters, right? Assumedly hand chosen. Did he not do any research? I'm curious, did the kid show up and the first master's like, I'm gonna teach you what dogs say.
Yeah.
And the kid's like, all right, cool. I don't know if my dad will go for it, but that sounds good to me. Or did the kid get there and the master's like, trying to teach him all about life skills, and the kid's like, I don't know. I know what this dog's saying though.
Maybe it was a Mr. Miyagi situation. And he left. The year was up before he learned how to use paint the fence as a karate block.
Yeah, I feel like there is a significant lack of vetting of these masters on part of the father, and I feel like that responsibility lies on the father.
I have no idea. It does not say what the masters were trying to teach the boy how to do, whether or not they were artisans.
Right.
And what masters is he sending them to?
Right. Is it the master of animal speech?
Specifically toads for sophomore year. One thing that I noticed when I originally thought, it was like, okay, this reminds me of the boy that went forth to learn what fear was. But that one was a longer story, as I recall.
Yeah.
And this it was a sentence. Like the first year he went to one master and then learned how to speak to birds. Like all of that took place in one paragraph.
Yeah, there was no pushing a man down the stairs and breaking his leg.
As opposed to just the postcard home from college. It's just like, I'm fine. Please restock my kitty.
Yes, learn how to talk to birds. So I want to talk about the tower a little.
Okay.
So he comes across the fortress, and they're like, "Well, you can sleep down in that tower." And the text literally says, they tell him, at certain hours, a man has to be given to them. Them being the wild dogs, who at once they devour. So yeah, I mean, they've been terrorizing the countryside with their howls and things, but these people have been sending people on occasion as a sacrifice. I mean, it sounds like it's like they're in this. They're like, yeah, no, we gotta send somebody every once in a while to get eaten. So go have at.
What's fun about that is that none of them can speak dog. They were like, well, I bet I know what these dogs want.
Yeah, the kid knows instantly.
Let's break Jim's legs. Sonny Jim, I'm sorry, you're being sacrificed at Carousel. And the dogs they eat them because they're like, well, okay, we're not allowed to leave this tower because we got to guard the treasure. But if you're just going to throw meat our way, that's fine. But they never asked for that.
Right. So, I mean, that's the other thing is, are they supposed to guard the treasure, or are they supposed to get rid of the treasure? Because they say they're there to guard it, and that's why they bark and howl and eat people. But then as soon as somebody comes and takes it away, they are relieved of duty and get to go back to doing whatever they were doing. They're no longer bewitched.
Yeah.
Why didn't they just chill the fuck out and lay down in the corner and let somebody come and take the treasure?
Maybe it's like a Princess and the Pea situation. When it's there, they lose their minds. Once the treasure's gone, though, it's like the pea has been removed from the mattress and they can sleep soundly.
Right. But I mean, they were calm enough to tell the kid the whole situation.
But he's the first one that could speak dog.
Yeah, but why didn't they just chill the fuck out and be nice dogs and then, eventually lead someone down into the basement to find the treasure?
Have you ever hung out with or chatted with a junkie?
For plot purposes, let's say no, I have not.
Okay. Okay. Charming individuals every once in a while, very pleasant. You can have a real conversation with someone that's a heroin addict. But, once the dragon comes shrieking, whatever dragons do. I know people that have done insane shit for a little bit of heroin in my past. I don't know how I'm going to edit this. Addiction is a horrible thing, right?
Right.
But most people who are addicts or who are in recovery, you can have a conversation with that person. But I mean, they're going to have an easier time of it if you remove the heroin from their house, from the tower that they all live in. And maybe they'll go away. I don't know that that's necessarily it, but yeah, you can talk to someone that's a little bit crazed and cursed.
That's a fair analogy.
I mean, maybe, probably not. Comparing those two doesn't make a lot of sense now that I think about it. But you know what? We're gonna go with it.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Yeah.
One more thing.
Yes.
We're playing by D&D rules here because the kid just carries out a chest full of gold. Just home. Look what I found. Right. Yeah.
I do have a kind of a Hollywood pitch if you have no more notes.
Very curious.
Okay. So I kind of like the education angle. I like the idea of someone who does not want to be heir to an empire, business empire, if you want, taking up a noble life of study. As much as I think a biopic on Mendel might be interesting, though I'm sure I'm the only one, and I can't quite crack that. But if we don't do a period piece, I could see something modern where a young man has been given a football or basketball scholarship. His family pushing him to drop out of college and join the draft for the NFL or whatever. His parent especially, not the antagonist exactly, but wanted them to do that so that they could pay off the house, they could retire, they could do whatever. But two things. One, if it's not a Catholic story, he meets a girl. And I don't really want to go down the road if he finds spirituality, but if his college is a Catholic school, right? Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Or if you want a girl involved too, some sort of Lutheran or Methodist university, whatever. His mother only let him go to the Catholic school for the sports scholarship. Had to have been you have to go to a religious school because we're a very religious family. And he was going to get drafted, but instead he finds solace in study and the love of this girl. He knows he won't get to keep her if he goes to the NFL. So he decides to skip the draft and stay in college, marry the girl and become a preacher. Not something I super want to write, but I think I could probably sell it somewhere. And I kind of like the idea. My problem is I feel like it would be a little too preachy.
Yeah, it would be hard to ride that line.
But it's an interesting story of someone that does find religion or something just and was forced to go to a religious school, finds that religion is what they want to do and skips the draft and just doesn't do what they're, feel there's the guilt anyways inherently with coming. Oh, I know, Mom, that you sacrificed so much for me, but I found God.
Right. And it's sort of the opposite of that standard, we expect you to go and get an education and then you drop out and join the NFL draft.
Exactly. And it kind of follows some of the same beats as this, the count sends his son to different masters to learn. He comes and learns what he learns, which the original guy didn't want, and then goes and becomes Pope. I don't know. That was my thought. It's like I said, I don't know that I would really want to write that, but I thought it was kind of just an interesting thought experiment or an interesting idea. If anyone else wants to write it, you feel free.
There's merit in writing something you don't want to write also, and you can apply that to any sort of creative endeavor. That's
true. I also might be not wanting to write anything religious for a little while because Judas and Devil Iscariot is done. And
yeah, that's also true.
I'm submitting it to a couple of different places, but we'll probably just self-publish it because it's just a novella and no one really wants it. No one really wants novellas. It's hard. If I do it myself, I'm going to release it by Easter for the low price of $6.66. I think that might get me some.
That is a good selling point.
It's a cheap price.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's all I have. Do you have anything else?
No, this one's fairly cut and dry.
Barring anything else, then I think we can close up shop. That has been story number 33, The Three Languages. Sleep tight, and we'll see you next time.
See you.